It's 105 degrees right now. It's supposed to be 107 degrees today.
Yes.
And if you look at the forecast, I'm not gonna look it up right now. It is like summer is here, baby. It is the first week of June, first full week of June.
It's not even this hot normally. This is the absurd part of it. It's like you complain that June starts to get hot. It's not 107, 108 hot in the first week of June. That is beyond abnormal even for Fresno. It seems.
Yeah, but thinking it's going to get any cooler from here, I think is false hope. So what do you do? Let's say it's July. Let's not say it's June. What do you do to beat the heat? How do you beat it?
I pray. No, I don't know. Like
you just sit on your knees.
Like last year was like a really great summer. The weather was pretty good. It was actually better than normal for June and July.
Last summer?
Yeah. Like I felt like
last summer was nice.
It was pretty nice. And so I pray for that. If it realistically, you alter your schedule, I will work out, or if I play pickleball, it will be in the morning and to beat the heat. I was struggling. Like we played this weekend and it hits, 80 and we were all sweating pretty badly. And we look at the temperature and, you're like, it's only 80. What happens when it's, 90, and you're out playing. And so, you adjust your schedule for there. Otherwise stay air conditioning.
I played tennis Tuesday night.
Realistically, the trips that we're going to on this year, or like my family's going some without me, they're to like hot places. Like my family's spending a week without me, like in July in Phoenix.
Oh God!
Like Phoenix is like 115. Like you're like looking at 115 for like a good portion of that trip, probably.
Well, even just this week, I've gone full Phoenix mode. Right? It is like up early, get the workout done early. Kids and I were already in the pool, like right after they finished breakfast at 7:00.
Yeah,
like, get all that activity done before noon, and then hunker down, baby, because it's hot. It is hot. I played tennis Tuesday night, and it was like. What was Tuesday night? Mid-90s, maybe?
Yes.
And it was even like getting towards sunset. So it was maybe coming down to low 90s, high 80s. And it was just like, we were at the end of the second set and it was like, damn, we were drenched.
Yeah.
Drenched.
Yeah.
But that's what we signed up for living in this part of town.
Like I said, just hope that we somehow get a repeat of last year with a nicer, mild summer.
Oh, no.
That's all we can hope for.
I'm preparing for the worst. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That's how you do it. It sounds like an investing philosophy. You ready? You ready to dig in?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Casual Friday Financial Insights podcast webcast. This is on YouTube as well. If you're joining us, welcome. If you're joining us for the first time, really welcome. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you listen to podcasts, be sure to subscribe on there as well so you can get the automatic downloads and not miss an episode. If you're missing episodes, shame on you, because last week we had an awesome one with Brian Domingos, who is the owner and realtor at Premier Valley Realty. Gave a breakdown of, he called himself a local economist, which I think is perfect because he really has some good insight in supply and demand for our residential real estate here in town and even beyond that. So Brian is an awesome resource. If you missed that episode, I'll link it in the show notes. On YouTube, I think I can put cards somewhere up here, so maybe I can get it to pop up for you so you can go back and listen to that. It's worthwhile. I think Brian's a great resource, and hopefully we can have him back. But today we're not talking markets so much. We'll start with markets, but we're talking fraud and scams and theft and identity theft and stuff.
The stuff that no one wants, but applies to everyone.
Man, it happens all the time. It like, raise your hand if you've gotten an email because there was a data breach at some place that you thought was secure. I'll give you an example. I applied to law school, lots of different places. And this must be 10 years after I applied for law school. So several years after even graduating law school and passing the bar, I got an email from Arizona State's law school. They'd been breached. I had been compromised. They paid for a year's worth of Equifax monitoring, but we've all had that. You've had that, right?
Yeah, I literally just had a client at 11 o'clock say that she was breached, AT&T,
Today?
an AT&T breach, and she got the 1 year free. I was like, yeah, that's good. That's what you're obviously going to take it because it's free, but
Yep.
as we'll probably talk about in this podcast, like you should have some kind of monitoring service, not just take it for the 1 year and then hope for the best, when you actually have to pay and don't have a service.
Yep.
It's probably not the best strategy going forward these days.
Yeah. And I will say, my name is Brian Ullman. I'm a financial advisor at Ford Financial Group. Ryan Louie, also financial advisor at Ford Financial Group. We are not specialists per se in identity theft, but man, we see it a lot. And so I think we have some capacity to talk on this subject in a helpful manner. So hopefully we can help everybody out. If you are listening to this, before the 12th of June, it's not too late to click in the link below and sign up, or click in the link in the show notes if you're listening, and sign up for our fraud alert webinar that we've got going on here for clients and their guests. We have a special guest coming in to talk about different kinds of fraud that you should be aware of so you can prevent fraud on yourself, and then some good steps that you can take to protect yourself. So worthwhile. If you're listening to this or watching this after midday, June 12th, and you haven't registered for the webinar, you can email us at info@fordfg.com. If we have a replay available, we will make that available to you. You can also just reach directly out to your financial advisor here, whether it's Ryan, me, Brian, Steve, Nick, Aaron, Rob, Eric, Carol, Dawn. We've got a lot of advisors here, so talk to your advisor and they can provide you with the replay if we've got it available. Let's talk markets for a second. What do you say?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. It's not bad, right? I mean,
we're up from when we talked last.
We are. So here, let's look at 5 days. 5 days out. Again, this is the orange line is the Dow. NASDAQ is purple. S&P 500 is blue. Yellow, we dispensed with the small caps a while ago. Yellow is the aggregate bond index. All up nicely over the last 5 days, despite some kind of rough days in there. Specifically, the last day of last month was rough. But let's pull the lens out a little bit. Let's go year to date. The NASDAQ is, after being kind of below, the S&P 500 is back above, probably because of the performance of one specific chip maker who I will not name. But NASDAQ year to date up more than 13% through the recording of this episode. S&P 500 up almost 12.25% year to date. Dow Jones lagging behind, up about 3% this year. Aggregate bond index still negative.
But closing that gap from where the lows were by a significant amount. So things are coming back. I mean,
yeah, they are coming back.
Here's one thing to be hopeful for, that you could be hopeful for with bonds, right? Is that if price were to just stay here, as you can see, it's pretty much rebounded to the start of where it started the year. Yeah. If it could just stay where it's at, it's going to continue to pay, bonds in general are going to pay you interest. So you'll start to make some progress for potentially the second half of the year where you're actually making some money. So that's a good thing about bonds.
Yeah, and there's rates are starting to come down a little bit, not the Fed fund rate, but other treasury rates. The ECB just announced that they're going to cut rates. I think Japan's doing the same thing as well. So
I think Canada just had a cut too as well.
What's that?
Canada too, I think.
Canada. Wasn't Japan, it was Canada. So central banks starting to kind of pull in that direction, whether the Federal Reserve takes note and does the same. I think there's some hope for that, but and even not all bond funds are created the same. So bonds in your portfolio might actually be positive, but at least break even or even positive for the year, depending on short, intermediate, long term. But the index negative. So a rough way to go here. So that's what's going on with markets. I think, we are getting towards a midway point. So we'll probably have a mid-year review here coming up soon. Whether it's in this podcast or we do a separate webinar for clients on the mid-year review. But so far, so good. I mean, just when you think we've had in the last 7 months, one negative, that was April.
April. Yeah, and then we rebounded in May, which was nice for clients, just because I think again, clients get a little bit of that. They get that market that goes up consistently for several months, and then once that first market goes down for 1 month, and they see those statements, they get a little panicked. I definitely had some people mention, "Oh, that April statement," and so it resets expectations a little bit. You have a down month, and then you realize, yes, markets do not go up forever.
Yeah.
But
we had a 5% pullback, and
right.
we've talked about this before. On average, we have between 3 and 5% pullbacks in a calendar year. So we're not even done yet. We're going to have another April. I don't know when.
Yes.
July,
And
August,
summer. Yeah. Since summers can get a little volatile. People are not paying attention to the markets as much.
Volume gets low.
The volume's a little bit lighter, so more things can disturb the market. So, you have to prepare yourself that the summer could have a more, an April moment.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, we'll cross that mid-year review point when we get to mid-year. It's still a little early for that. So we're talking fraud. And this is kind of all over the news. So here's a Wall Street Journal article that just came out. Gosh, this was just a few days ago. Scammers tried to sell Graceland. This has to do with title fraud and some things. This is not exactly the kind of fraud that we're all dealing with, but man, like these guys will try everything to separate
on anything, because this is not obviously your normal piece of property to do this on. But hence why this was an article, because it's a very well known place that even they tried to do a fraudulent title change on.
Exactly. Here's one. This is an online love scam. She hooked me how an online scam cost a senior citizen his life savings. He was looking for, and he got bled dry. She ghosted him. He still longs for her. That's sad. What's the next one? Oh, here we go. Welcome to Scam World. This is in the New York Times. Digital life cluttered with bogus text messages, spam calls, phishing attempts. You can try to block, encrypt, and subscribe your way out of it, but you may not succeed. And again, this is from April, so not all that long ago. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Have you? I know I have clients and family members who have been successfully scammed. I imagine same goes for you.
Yeah, I've had I'd say 3 notable ones. 2 was a long time ago, but it was unfortunately my grandmother. This is probably 10 years ago while she was alive. She had thought that I was calling her, and it obviously wasn't me, but somebody. She probably heard a young voice. She said the name. Then they kept calling, and my grandmother didn't drive. And so when they would ask for money, they would make her go get these like cards that we would get at Walmart. She'd have to go to the bank to go to Walmart. So she'd have to go to the bank, and then she'd have to go to Walmart and then come home, and they would call back again. And so this went on for a while. They kept giving stories of why they needed money. And then eventually she ended up calling my mom and realizing that there was a problem. Last year, I had someone go to a used car dealership trying to purchase a used car under my name.
Really?
It came up only because they ran the report, and I got an email alert from my credit agency just letting them know that they had seen my credit report run. I did surprisingly ask for any information that they had. The car dealership was nice. They sent me a license of the person. It had my information on it, not my picture.
The driver's license?
Yeah, the driver's license had everything was pretty much right. I mean, the house was an old house of mine. I didn't live at anymore, but the address was correct. Birthday was off by the date, but like the year and the month were right. The number, the ID, the license number was correct, but it had their picture. It had their picture on it. And so it looked like you. Yeah, it was full on. Yeah, there was a full on.
No, did the picture
look
like you?
A copy of a license that they were using.
Yeah. Was it? Did the fraudster look like you in the picture on the driver's license?
I mean, they were Asian, bald, like shaved head, bald, younger than I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were trying to buy a car under my name.
I'll be darned. Well, that's something that, well, we'll get to things that you can do to protect yourself, but just for the sake of being efficient here, if you're listening and you have, or watching, and you haven't frozen your credit at the 3 credit reporting agencies, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, go online, freeze your credit, and it will prevent people from buying cars in your name, like almost happened to Ryan.
Yes, correct.
Or opening credit cards or doing it. I mean, if your credit is frozen, they're locked out. That's all there is to it. And that sometimes I think that's half of what LifeLock does for people.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good. And that I didn't have mine locked until after that incident, and I've locked it. So that it's been probably a year and a half. I've had it locked, and it's worth doing. You obviously, I would say to those that do it, just be, some of them you can control by an app. I forgot which agency they allow you to turn it off and on.
I don't remember either.
You just got to remember the easiest way to turn it back on, because there are going to be times where you need to, open up your credit. My particular incident that I ran into is like we changed services from Xfinity to AT&T. Had no idea that they were going to run my credit.
Right.
And I would spend hours. I like to port my number over last year. Probably spent 3 hours at AT&T and like had to unlock things. And if you know and remember how to do it, it makes life easier, right? If you forget your password, don't know how to get it unlocked, it's a weekend. These are all the things I could also, be mindful of when you have to unfreeze your credit as well.
But man, it is free. It is easy to do. And in an afternoon, you can be 98% more protected from that.
That's the key thing. That's definitely the key thing, is that you have less to worry about, especially from a financial standpoint, because they're just not going to be able to get credit on to spend money under your name.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some bad habits, some bad cyber habits that people have, and some things that they can do to help to maybe eliminate these bad habits. And then we'll talk about a few common scams, and maybe we'll have some anecdotal evidence, because I have clients, Bitcoin scams, and the scam like your grandmother's has happened.
Sure.
Okay. So tell me, do you use the same password to log into multiple websites? This is under the bad habits heading.
Yes and no. Like I kind of had these ones that, if it's for this generic site that I probably not as worried about, I will use more of my generic password. And then, some of them I will definitely let the computer, create the password, which is a jumble of characters and letters and numbers all mixed together, and then I'll usually do that if I'm making sure that the computer can save it. Otherwise, I'm never going to remember the password that they are able to create. But this is a key one, right? Because breaches happen on websites, and so the breach is real easy. It's your email address and your password, and if you use the same one everywhere, they'll just go to random sites and probably start using the same email address and password and see if it works or not.
Yep. I have had this bad habit before, and in my mind, I was doing well because I had a simple password for things I didn't care it would be hacked. Right. And then I had a medium security password, then I had a high security password, but I was still using it more than once. And I've taken to using a password manager.
Yes.
Which generates really difficult, almost impossible to remember, 16 characters, both mixtures of letters, lowercase and uppercase, numbers, and symbols like an @ or an exclamation point, asterisk, $, that kind of stuff. And I think it's much more secure. Whether you're using two of the more popular is 1Pass and LastPass. I won't recommend either because I think they're probably both good, but having that generation, even your iPhone has the ability to generate random passwords and keep them in there.
Right.
So using a password manager instead of using the same password over and over, then you just need to remember your one password manager website, and you can make it pretty tough, but just good for you to remember. Okay. Two-factor authentication. Do you use two-factor authentication to log into websites?
I would use two-factor authentication if it's available, right? Like if you're shopping at likely.
Why don't you explain what?
Okay, so two-factor authentication usually requires, more often than not, either an app on your phone, or they're going to send you a code to your phone number when you sign up for the accounts. You're going to you put your phone number, and so to verify when you're not logging into their site, you'll do your normal username, password. They'll also send you a 4, 6, 8 digit code to your phone, and you have to enter that in as a second step to make sure that it is you. So yeah, I'll usually do that. Definitely on my financial websites, and the apps, I will do that almost for everything. It's not available for everything. You log on to Target.com. I'm going to guess probably doesn't have it.
But I will say more and more websites are forcing you into it. And one of the reasons why they're forcing two-factor authentication is because they want to discourage password sharing.
Sure.
Now, like Netflix isn't forcing you to two-factor authenticate every time you log in. But other websites that are subscription websites that are trying to crack down on that do force two-factor authentication, and does slow down password sharing. But also, it's good. And so, if you get the text message, put in your code, we don't recognize this device, etc., you can do that. Do you share your login credentials with other people?
No, surprisingly, and I think that's good and bad, to be honest with you. I mean, in some ways, you should probably definitely share with your spouse. I don't think there's any harm in that. And we just have our own information that we access. But yeah, if something were to happen to me, I think that there would be some lost information that she probably would have a hard time getting into. So I do think that sharing it with the right people is probably, I'm going to actually say it's okay. I know that the strict rules, you should never share it with anyone, but I think that there's exceptions to these rules because, otherwise things could be lost in the black hole.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's helpful to share like the banking password with your wife, but you can also make your own profiles and do that kind of stuff. So you can maybe cut down on that. What are a couple others? Do you keep your browser and operating system up to date? So when your computer says, "Hey, you have a software,"
I'm good at it if it tells me what to update, when to update. I'm not super proactive.
Phones are pretty good at this.
Yes, the phones are good at this. The computer, I use Mac. It's pretty good. It tends to be pretty good at it. It's been such a long time since I've been using PCs. I'm not as familiar with their updating protocol. One other thing too that tends to be a little bit less of a cyber threat, but maybe more of a personal threat, but it has to do with social media is putting too much like information out there. I don't think people obviously people aren't posting their passwords on there.
No, but some people share a lot. You talk about the thing that happened with your grandmother. You go online and they can see the names and ages of people's kids and put two and two together.
Yes. And one other thing that happens, and that probably pertains right now, social media in the summertime, is a lot of people going on vacation, right?
Yes.
And, the one thing that you could always forget is if you're posting that you're, on the other side of the world, also means that you're not at home. And so there's a security threat at home because they know that you're not there and you're not going to be there for a while. So there's little of those things that people could pick up on that you do online.
So there's a physical security threat, someone breaking your house, but even just the fraud kind of thing, we here at Forward Financial Group got an email from what seemed to be from a client who said, "I'm in such and such country. I'm emailing you from a cafe. I've had my wallet stolen. I need some money wired to here." We knew that they were in this country and that they were traveling and that they were abroad, but it didn't pass the smell test. And frankly, we can't take money requests over email or voicemail anyway. We couldn't reach them, but we did have their children's information on file that we could call and not get too deep in their portfolio, but say, "Hey, we got an email from your folks. Have you talked to them lately? Because there's a money request." Come to find out that they had used it, one of the internet cafes where they were. Someone had gotten their information and were impersonating them and trying to wire money. And so we were, just from our practice, our regular practices here, we're able to prevent that fraud from being perpetrated. But you're in an internet cafe signing into your accounts, and it's on what, in this case, it wasn't social media, but if someone was on social media and saying, "Hey, I'm in Italy right now," they could say, "Hey, greetings from Florence."
It's believable because people know that you're there. And the more that the story makes sense, the easier it is to actually trick someone.
Truly. Okay. So those are some bad habits that we could all probably stand to break. And even, man, just small adjustments make you so much safer from enduring some of these things. Now let's get into some common scams, and then we can wrap up by talking about maybe some things you can do to protect yourself. So here's one that's kind of recent: receiving calls from someone claiming to be from a government agency offering relief payments due to COVID-19. Have you gotten any of those? I haven't gotten.
I have not.
I have no doubt that with COVID, now we're further removed from COVID, so maybe it's not happening so far out. But offering free money if you do X is often a sign that they're trying to get something from you. This is, we were talking about the love scam. You and I are happily married, so this hasn't happened to us, but have you recently met someone online and they're asking for money even though you haven't met in person? This is a scam where on chat rooms or messenger apps, people try and connect.
I think,
say,
definitely.
Hey, hello. Oh, it must be the wrong number, but how are you anyway? They're trying to create a relationship, and then they can start to ask you, do you want to do a Bitcoin investment? Do you want to do
I think it's also often, people, like, it's a numbers game, but like people that would maybe be more subject to fall for it, or people that maybe live by themselves, a little more lonely, right? And you have somebody reach out to you, and there's just somebody to socialize with, and so you end up being more subject to fall for something like that.
Yeah. Another really common one is a phone call from someone claiming to be either from the Social Security Administration or claiming to be from the IRS that you have to pay something. The IRS does not contact tax buyers by phone, email, or text messages to discuss your information.
That's a big one to know. As long as if you know that, then any call you could assume is not real. It's just fraudulent. But I get it too, because the IRS is like the entity that we all tend to be kind of scared of until somebody says they're there. You want to give them the information, you want to be compliant, but it's not going to be them if they're making a call.
I know two different people in the last 6 months who have gotten calls. I don't remember if they were claiming to be from Social Security. It may have been the IRS, Department of Justice, FBI, something like that, saying, your bank accounts have been compromised. We're trying to keep you safe. We need you to go down, turn it all into Bitcoin, send it to us. We'll in turn, that will keep your money safe, and then we'll lock down your accounts and then return this to you tomorrow. And someone will be coming over to your house this afternoon. They are frantic. They stay on the phone with these people as they search for a Bitcoin ATM, which is ludicrous to even think of. And these people have been scammed out of $20,000 and $40,000 on this scam of there's fraud. We need to help you lock down their account. And both of these people, as they relayed this example, said the minute the transfer was made, their gut dropped and they thought, oh no, I've been scammed. Yeah. And they said, oh, you're scamming me. They said, no, I'm not. Someone will be at your door in like an hour. But they were scammed. And there was no recourse. You can go down to the police office, the police department. You can go call whoever. Once it's gone, it's gone. So if someone's calling, asking you for money, get off the phone.
Yeah.
And and don't get into that frantic mode. One of the ones on our list is the one that you described, a phone call from someone claiming to be your child or grandchild asking for money. This happened to your grandmother. This happened to a family member of mine as well, where it sounded like a kid. I'm in jail. Please don't tell my parents, but can you send bail money? And they did it. And the minute it was wired out, they were like, oh no. And then they're afraid to tell anybody because they're
embarrassed. They don't want to admit to them being defrauded or something.
Yep. Another one, we'll kind of start to wrap this up because we're going a little bit long. I've seen clients also like, hey, I have this money-making proposition, but you need to go down and buy an Apple gift card at Walmart, scratch it off, give me the numbers, and I'll send you this or that. I had a client that did this, and when she came in and told me about it, we were able to stop it there, but she was still out probably $1,000 in these $100 gift cards over and over that were going on.
I would say that the main things, if I had to say, just as far as recommendations are concerned, be super cautious of links, whether that's a email link, anything there. I would say you're better off if it's a Chase email, you're better off just going to the Chase website yourself, not through the link. for example, or bank,
Absolutely.
whatever bank. If there's a link that's sent to you for a text message, I would definitely be very, very cautious of that. I get a lot that actually like UPS missed the delivery from you. Please,
Yep.
click on the link. And so I'm like, I'm not expecting any packages. So I'm not, and it's just, you got to be super cautious of that. And then of
Right.
course, incoming phone calls, right? I always tell my parents, from an incoming phone call, because they have had some instances of fraud before too.
Yeah.
Just call the entity back, go to the website, call that number that's on the website,
Right.
and just call them back and have the discussion with them. But when it's incoming, and if it's of a serious matter that they're asking for things that seem a little odd, there's other ways to contact the company to make sure that they're legitimate.
Yeah. If you don't know the number, don't answer the call. If you don't know the text number, it's fake. Period.
Yeah, and you just don't want to be as casual to think, oh, I'm just clicking on a link, right? Like that could be a real starter for lots of problems.
Now I know we're in California, so the state of California has some resources, but just generally some resources. Here, I'm gonna share my screen here real quick. Some resources that are kind of federal resources if you're finding yourself in a pinch. The FTC has a lot of, this is their IdentityTheft.gov, where you can report identity theft and kind of start to get a plan on how to get your stuff back in place. Just looking here also, here's the FBI website. So common crimes and scams, parents and teachers, you don't want your kids getting scammed, right? So there's ways to report the tip line, scams and incidents. And then here's another one, FDIC. So this is where the federal banking insurance comes in, talking about, don't open an email from people you don't know. Be careful about links. Use strong passwords. A lot of the stuff that we talked about. I don't want to say it's common knowledge because not everybody knows, but there are resources out there to make sure that you are not getting busted by imposters, right? Whether it's
I think
lots of federal resources.
Like you said, a lot of these seem like the common sense, and they probably even are to most people. But it's also good to read sometimes just as a reminder. It's like refreshes you. Oh yeah, I shouldn't be doing this, or I shouldn't be doing that. Even though if you read it, you're like you kind of know that you're not supposed to. It's a fresh reminder to be careful.
Yeah, and we even have our webinar coming up. I'll put on the video, I'll put kind of the webinar information just on the screen right here. But if you're just listening to this, email us at info@forwardfg.com. The webinar is Wednesday, the 12th at noon Pacific. And we have a presenter who specializes in identity theft, fraud, and talking about the different kinds of frauds like we are today, the different things that you can do to protect yourself. Ryan, your friend who's part of the FBI, gave a presentation to clients in person a while back. I thought the real takeaway there was that if it's convenient, it's not secure. And if it's secure, it's not convenient. So understand the trade-off. The example he gave was sliding your credit card right at the pump when you're getting gas.
Yes.
Convenient, not secure. Going in and paying cash at the register, not convenient, but secure. So I think if you're going to take a rule of thumb, that's a good one to take away from this. But again, webinars coming up. If you're listening to this after June 12th, 2024, and you'd like to see a replay, if we have that available to you, email us info@forwardfg.com. Talk to your advisor or reach out to us and we can get that link to you so you can see what you missed. Okay, Ryan, let's wrap this up. What's on your mind?
Oh, okay. So, as we speak, the French Open is going. I'm a little bit saddened. My favorite player of all time, Rafael Nadal, who has won that tournament or more than anybody has won any tournament. Seemingly, this has been his last French Open of his career. So I'm a little bit saddened. I've spent so many years watching him. I think he's won 14. I probably at least have watched 12 to 13 of those championships that he's won. So I'm a little saddened that, his career is coming to an end. If I have to find somebody else to kind of root for to get me back into tennis, because I do find myself a little bit less willing to watch because my favorite player is not there.
Yeah. Well, we'll just make this into tennis talk here for a minute too, because this is what's on my mind. I'm watching a lot of tennis right now, because it's not just Djokovic, but I mean it's not just Nadal, but Djokovic, the most decorated player, I think we'd say. It's an open question of who's the greatest. Is out in the quarterfinal. He had to withdraw. He's probably not going to make Wimbledon because he has a hurt knee. It wouldn't surprise me if he played in the Olympics and called it a career. And that makes the big three gone. I thought Djokovic was going to go for years, but maybe not.
Sometimes we, if you watch sports long enough, you could see somebody decline pretty fast with their health, right? And it just happens, right?
But Djokovic seems healthy.
And he may be, and this may just be a one-time issue. And I'm hoping that it is for him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we all have seen this when people get older, and we all know it personally.
I know.
One injury comes, and as you're getting better from one, your arm falls off. Like it's just the way things happen. And so hopefully for him, it's not that. But I can't also say it wouldn't surprise me.
No, but here's the silver lining. Out with the old, in with the new. Sinner, Alcaraz, 5:30 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. These are the young guns. Tennis will be just fine because there are some exciting players to watch.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be up early watching. I don't know about you. On the women's side, though, I don't know if you've been watching the women's side. Goff lost. We were rooting for her, and it's Andreeva, I think is how you say her last name.
She's 17 years old. That's all I know of her. Yes.
What's that?
She's very young. 17.
Stud. She's going to be around a long time. Great player. So tennis will be in good shape even without these really decorated players. And we may not see guys win like Federer and Nadal and Djokovic
20 championships each plus. That might be
crazy
unlikely. Very unlikely, but very exciting players, very athletic players, still fun to watch. I just need to find somebody that I'm going to cling to. Like I said, Nadal was that for me for like 20 years. So it's not expecting somebody to necessarily last for that long, but it would be nice to have that person that I can continue to cheer for the next
Alcaraz.
It probably will be Alcaraz. He's fun. He's exciting, and
he is exciting. I do like Sinner though. He's awesome too. He's gonna be number one on Monday, actually. Last tennis thing. Henry, who has been playing a lot of golf lately, declared that he wanted to back out of all the golf camps he was signed up for to play tennis all summer. So we're back full blown tennis in our household. Everybody, top to bottom. But I mean,
well, it will be funny, fun potentially too. They still have a little while before before Henry enters middle school, right? But
He's
potential that our kids could be playing each other at different schools too, and tennis, which would be fun for them to do.
Totally. If they're playing tennis, I'm happy for it. He loves it. It's good. It's good for you and me. It's athletic and lots of cardio, and that boy needs to burn off some energy, and doing it on the tennis court is a great, healthy way to do it. So
yes, I agree with that.
I'm all for it. Okay. We'll leave it there. We went a little bit longer than normal, but this is kind of an easy rabbit hole to go down with this cybersecurity fraud, identity theft stuff, because if you are listening to this, somebody who's been touched by this. I think I can safely say that.
100%.
So it's important to remain vigilant and make sure that you're not getting scammed. So, Ryan, it'll probably be a few weeks till you're back on the podcast, but we will talk again soon.
All right. I look forward to it.
Very good.